The 2 days of early voting ended on Friday evening, with the voter turnout reaching the second highest of over 34%. As voting was underway, the DP's Lee Jae-myung toured the Gangwon-do province area, while the PPP's Kim Moon-soo launched a 4-day non-stop campaign. The three major indicators showing production, spending, and investments all fell in April, ringing the alarm bell for the economy amid U.S. tariffs and sluggish demand at home. A U.S. appeals court allows President Trump's sweeping tariffs to stay valid for the time being by pausing a previous lower court ruling against them. Critics say it further fuels confusion and uncertainty. It's May 30th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. Early voting closed today, which took place for 2 days ahead of the 21st presidential election next Tuesday. Many voters in the country headed to polling stations throughout the day. The turnout hit over 34%, a little shy of the previous record. An Sung-jin has our top story.
One line became two, even three-folded with voters who'd queued up for early voting.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Thursday and Friday, more than 3,500 early voting stations nationwide, including this one in Yeoksamdong, Gangnam-gu District, Seoul, were open.
Starting from early morning until the last minute before the last day of early voting closed, people continue to show up to cast their ballots ahead of next Tuesday's presidential election.
I came here with my son to explain about how elections work and that this many people are interested in voting.
People nowadays say how living conditions are difficult, so I hope that the economy can be revitalized and that whichever candidate wins, they actually follow through with their election promises.
As someone who is job hunting, I hope there will be more support related to employment.
The first day of early voting saw record high figures since 2014 when it first took place in national elections. However, the total early voter turnout rate for this presidential election stood at 34.74%, 2.16 percentage points lower than the previous one, marking the second highest figure. Jeollanam-do province recorded the highest turnout at 56.5%, while Daegu the lowest at 25.63%. The capital Seoul stood at 34.28%. Voting for the 21st presidential election is scheduled for June 3rd from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Voters must be over 18 and bring a government-issued ID. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
With the election day fast approaching, campaigning continues with the contenders out on the streets. Liberal Party contender Lee Jae-myung addressed supporters in Gangwon-do province for the first time during the race. Shin Ha-young reports.
Marking the last day of early voting, the Democratic Party on Friday gave it their all, this time with its candidate focusing on regions outside the capital.
On the final day of early voting, Lee Jae-myung chose Gangwon-do province, known for its biohealth industry, as his rally location for the first time during the official campaign period.
During his visit to the city of Wonju, which the party describes as home to public bio and medical institutions, he emphasized the need to support the region in a way that aligns with its specialty.
Wonju is known for its focus on the medical industry. We should continue to support it as much as possible under the existing policies.
On Friday, he pointed to reviving the domestic economy as the top priority after the election.
The most urgent priority is to revive the domestic economy. Since the current extra budget is too small, the focus should be on expanding it.
Meanwhile, regarding Thursday's record-high early voting turnout, the DP said it was a clear reminder that votes are more powerful than bullets. The party attributed the high turnout to the public's strong desire to end the insurrection fallout and put the country back on track.
In the 2022 presidential election, early voting turnout hit a record high of 36.9%. Let's break that record again today. By taking part in early voting, you can help end the insurrection, restore livelihoods, and bring the country back together.
The party said that it will stay humble and focus on the people's wish for a change in government. 신하영, 아리랑 뉴스, 원주.
Conservative Party contender Kim Moon-soo launched a non-stop campaign, meaning he's not going home until the election campaign is over, to rally as much as possible across the nation. Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
Covering as much ground as possible is People Power Party presidential candidate Kim Moon-soo's last-minute push strategy. On Friday, he took off for a 90-hour trail without going home. And as he was about to meet as many voters as possible, he started off with a long plea for votes.
The People Power Party has had many shortcomings. I deeply reflect on and sincerely apologize for having disappointed the people. We deserve the criticism and we will reflect on it deeply. We will not shy away from self-sacrifice, making tough decisions for the greater good, and pursuing policy innovation.
For this first day of the marathon, Kim rallied in Gyeonggi-do Province and Chungcheongbuk-do Province before wrapping it up in Gangwon-do Province. With the voters already casting their ballots, he's not trying to put in new messages against his rival, but has been reiterating that Lee Jae-myung has too many legal risks and that DP will have too much power if it wins the presidency as well. To add to the efforts, Kim also has been appearing on stage with some well-known liberal politicians such as Son Hak-kyu and Jeon Byung-won, who formed their own factions as anti-Lee Jae-myung. As for the high voter turnout in early voting, the party claimed the credit, saying the number reflects anti-Lee Jae-myung sentiment and that it's also a signal that things are turning around.
I believe this high voter turnout reflects the people's strong and resolute will to stop a monstrous dictatorship. We are moving toward a miraculous comeback.
As for the second day of his journey, on Saturday, Kim is set to tour around Gangwon-do Province a bit more and head down to Gyeongsangbuk-do for rallies over the weekend. The Gyeongsangbuk-do region, including Daegu, is a region that has not participated in early voting as much as others. Having said that, it also means that many votes are up for grabs still in the conservative stronghold. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News, Wonju.
Reform Party candidate Jun-seok, for his part, continued his engagement with young voters. Earlier in the day, he hosted a rally along the Gyeonggi Line Forest Park in Mapogu district, reaching out to white-collar workers and college students. He then made his way to popular university hangouts, including Sinchon in Seodaemun-gu district and Daehangno in Jongno-gu district. Public polls show his support base is largely made up of voters in their 20s. He also reiterated his words of regret for crude language during the final presidential debate earlier this week. Findings for the month of April show an on-month slump in all three major economic indicators of industrial output, retail sales, and investments, ringing the alarm bell for the economy. Shin-se-byuk covers these findings.
South Korea's industrial activity weakened in April, with production, consumption, and investment all declining under the weight of U.S. tariffs and sluggish domestic demand. Data released Friday by Statistics Korea shows overall industrial production dropped 0.8% from March, reversing a previous upward trend. Output fell across major sectors, including public administration, manufacturing, services, and construction. Mining and manufacturing production was down 0.9%, led by declines in automobiles and semiconductors. Auto production fell 4.2%, the steepest drop since last November, while chip output dipped nearly 3%. April's figures are seen as the first clear reflection of Washington's newly imposed tariff barriers on Korean exports. Hyundai Motor Group's full-scale launch of production at its Georgia-based Metaplant America factory is also believed to have contributed to the drop in domestic manufacturing. Consumer activity showed continued weakness. Service output edged down 0.1% as gains in retail were offset by declines in professional, scientific, and financial services. Retail sales, a key gauge of goods consumption, slid by 0.9%, with purchases falling across all categories, including clothing, durable goods, and non-durable items. It marked the second straight month of decline following a 1% drop in March. Facility investment also fell for a second month, down 0.4% on month. An expert warned that the worst may still lie ahead as the U.S. tariffs only started to take effect in April, and their full impact is still unfolding.
Whether it's manufacturing, consumption, or investment, the overall trend is gradually deteriorating. As the impact of U.S. tariffs starts to fully take hold in the coming months, the numbers could get even worse.
Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
U.S. President Trump's sweeping tariffs stay in place for now. Just one day after a local trade court ruled against his tariffs, an appeals court paused the order. Kim Jung-sil explains.
A U.S. appeals court has allowed President Trump's trade tariffs to stay in place for now by putting a temporary hold on a lower court's decision to block them. This puts on hold Wednesday's ruling by the U.S. Court of International Trade, which said Trump had gone beyond his legal powers in imposing sweeping tariffs on imports under an emergency powers law. The law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, says the president may use its powers only to address unusual and extraordinary national security threats. The court said IEEPA does not give the president full control over trade policy. But on Thursday, the appeals court said that decision would not be enforced while judges review the case. It gave the plaintiffs until June 5th to file their response. Also on Thursday, a federal judge in Washington, D.C. issued a separate ruling finding parts of Trump's tariff policy unlawful. The judge wrote that the IEEPA does not enable the president to unilaterally impose, revoke, pause, reinstate, and adjust tariffs to reorder the global economy. Earlier that day, the White House defended the tariffs, saying they're necessary to protect American industries.
President Trump is in the process of rebalancing America's trading agreements with the entire world, bringing tens of billions of dollars in tariff revenues to our country, and finally ending the United States of America from being ripped off.
With legal challenges mounting, the future of the tariffs remains uncertain. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
More than a year ago, the UN panel of experts on North Korea, which monitors sanctions against the regime, was disbanded after Russia's veto. An alternative multinational team is now filling the gap, which released its first report. It reveals details on arms trade between North Korea and Russia, including the latter's reward to the regime. Kim Bo-kyung has more.
North Korea has provided enough heavy artillery to Russia for 3 brigades, while Russia offered air defense systems to the North in return. This from the very first report by the Multilateral Sanctions Monitoring Team released on Thursday. The team serves as an alternative framework to the UN panel of experts on North Korean sanctions monitoring, after it was disbanded in March 2024 due to Russia's veto. The inaugural report by 11 participating states focused on the illegal military cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow. The North has supplied Russia with over 20,000 containers worth of artillery shells and related materials since September 2023. Around 9 million artillery and rocket shells were transferred to Russia over 49 cargo shipments last year. And so were more than 100 ballistic missiles, over 200 heavy artillery pieces, as well as anti-tank missiles and rockets. Furthermore, 8,000 North Korean laborers were dispatched to Russia last year, and several thousand more are planned to be sent in the first half of this year. Russia, meanwhile, has transferred at least 1 Panzer-class combat vehicle, along with electronic warfare jamming devices since last November. Through a joint statement, the team urged the North to engage in meaningful diplomacy and said it will continue to monitor the implementation of UN Security Council resolutions on the North. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
At a time when the world is facing myriad challenges, an international peace forum brought together pundits from around the world to Korea's Jeju Island. Among the issues addressed was a possible U.S. troop drawdown from South Korea. Our foreign affairs correspondent Pyongyang takes a look.
A potential troop reduction will not have a negative impact on the U.S. ability to meet treaty obligations to help South Korea defend itself against an attack from North Korea. That's according to retired U.S. Navy Admiral Harry Harris, a former U.S. ambassador to South Korea and a former head of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. Speaking to reporters on Friday at an annual peace forum held on Jeju Island, he stressed that threats in the region from the likes of North Korea, China, or Russia are not isolated from each other.
Again, we have to look at them holistically. And I believe that if is the key word here, if there was a restructuring of some forces in Korea, ultimately it would serve to defend Korea better than it would not.
His comments come after the U.S. is reportedly considering withdrawing around 4,500 troops deployed to South Korea, and as the Trump administration will likely seek to renegotiate a deal on sharing costs for maintaining forces in Korea. Scott Snyder, the head of the Korea Economic Institute of America, who was also at the Jeju Forum, noted that there needs to be a broader discussion on this issue, including in areas such as technology and defense industrial production.
Honestly, I don't think that President Trump could get what he wanted from it last time in the first administration, and it basically failed to be used as a lever. But we have so many other ways that we're cooperating on defense issues in the world. And so there's a lot to be considered.
During his first term, Trump called for a whopping 5-fold increase in Seoul's contribution to maintaining U.S. troops. He will likely seek to renegotiate a deal on this once South Korea has a new president next week. With the Trump administration demanding that Seoul increase its share of defense costs, this issue remains as a crucial challenge for the next Korean government to overcome. Pyongyang, Arirang News, Jeju.
Friday means it's time for our arts and culture segment. I have our culture correspondent Song Yujin back in the studio. Welcome back, Yujin.
Happy to be back, Changmin.
What do you have for us today?
Well, today I want to introduce a very special 19th century friendship between Korea and the United States that lives on through a recently reopened gallery in Salem, Massachusetts. Here's the full story. Founded in 1799, the Peabody Essex Museum in Salem, Massachusetts is the oldest continuously operating museum in the United States. It's also the first American museum to purposefully collect Korean art. This month, the museum reopened its newly expanded and more diverse Korea gallery named after Yoo Gil-jun, a pioneering Korean scholar and politician.
Our relationship with Korea is really based on this diplomatic kind of relationship, as well as cultural exchange. We do believe that Yoo Gil-jun was the first international student to be in the United States.
Yoo arrived in America in 1883 as part of Korea's very first diplomatic delegation to the U.S. During his stay in Salem, he developed a close friendship with Edward Sylvester Morse, then director of the Peabody Academy of Science, Pem's predecessor. Yoo later donated his personal belongings, and Morse would go on to acquire over 200 Korean items, laying the foundation for what is now Pem's Korea Gallery. The gallery focuses on Korean art from the early 19th to the 20th centuries. The development was led by Dr. Jiyeon Kim, who spent 2 years researching, curating, and designing the gallery.
This is the period that Korea first opened this door to a wider world. It is not just the story of Yoo Gil-jun and the elite, and also our gallery and our collection contains the lives of so many people who lived that very pivotal period.
Nearly 100 Korean art and everyday objects are on display. Among the highlights are an 8-panel folding screen from the early 1800s depicting a grand royal banquet during the Joseon dynasty, meticulously conserved in Korea. This is a newly unveiled family picture of Lee Bum-jin, a Korean diplomat in Washington, D.C., who befriended Edwin Vernon Morgan, one of the first American diplomats posted to Korea. These traditional instruments, senghwang and 장구, were played at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair.
What we aim to do at the museum is, to create an environment and an experience in which people can become more curious about, the larger world, their place in it, seeing what we do share, and really what makes something individual and distinctive.
At the same time, the gallery offers visitors a deeper window into Korea.
Give this very valuable opportunity to people who know Korea only through K-pop and popular culture, and give them more insight about the history, where this originated from.
Some friendships grow stronger over time. The bond between Yoo Gil-jun and Edward Sylvester Morse has endured for well over a century, evolving into this one-of-a-kind cultural exchange between their countries.
Wow, revamping a gallery of this scale must have taken an incredible amount of effort and dedication. Eugene, what did the museum share with you about what went into the project?
Well, both Director Hardigan and Curator Kim really emphasized that the reopening of the Korea Gallery was a collaborative effort because this was done by the support and help of numerous organizations and individuals. For example, the Korea Foundation, the National Museum of Korea, and the Overseas Korean Cultural Heritage Foundation. And notably, I want to emphasize how the local Korean community in New England really extended a helping hand because they organized fundraising events for the reopening of the gallery, and some of them also donated artworks for auction.
That is very heartwarming. And Eugene, beyond what you covered in your report, what additional experiences await visitors at the Korea Gallery?
Well, my report mostly focused on Korean art from the 19th and 20th century, but there is also an exhibition on Korean contemporary media art that is running at the exhibition. It currently features 2 works by the artist Chung Yeon-do, Evergreen Tower and Bewitched. So to give you more information about the works, Evergreen Tower is a series of photographs showing the diverse living rooms of families residing in identical apartment units, highlighting individuality within uniformity. Now, meanwhile, Bewitched is a slide installation where subjects are portrayed in 2 contrasting images, as you can see, one as they are and another representing their aspirational selves. Now, this particular exhibition will run until January 25th, 2026.
Our culture correspondent, Song Yujin, thank you.
Thank you.
Early summer heat is continuing all over the country. It'll fly hotter in the middle of the day today than yesterday. Today's daytime temperature in Seoul soared up to 29 degrees Celsius, about 2 degrees higher than yesterday. Temperatures will stay very similar to today throughout this weekend. Skies are expected to be mostly sunny on the weekend without any rain or showers. However, as the temperatures in the inland areas will be as hot as around 30 degrees, the ultraviolet index will also rise from high to very high across the country. It is recommended that people stay indoors or stay in the shade while enjoying outdoor activities. Tomorrow, Seoul and Jeju will start off at 16 degrees, Daegu at 12 degrees. Highs will move up to nearly 30 degrees in most parts of the country. On the day of the election, the sky will be cloudy nationwide. Rain is forecast only in Gyeongsang-namdo province and Jeju Island. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching and hope you have a great weekend.